focus on breaking down risk management problems bit by bit until we find a solution. If you would like to discuss anything you hear on GPP with us, please reach out using the links in the description. Enjoy today's episode.
All right, Todd, appreciate you having you on today and coming on.
Alex, Ryan, Andy, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here, especially when you guys are so close to where I'm at geographically.
That's right.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, we have a guest host, Andy Bassett, back on the show today too. So
it's been a while. It's good to be back. Usually Elliot is the primary host along with Ryan, so it's nice to fill his shoes today.
Absolutely. Well, Todd, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of dive in, I guess, tell everyone what you do, your background, and we can get moving.
Sure. Well, I'm a work comp nerd. So today I'm the founder of Mod Advisor. We do mod analysis in most of the country. We have clients that purchase our Mod Advisor software from California all the way over to Tennessee. Outside of that, I also run an online company called Direct Work Comp. We sell workers' compensation in the lower 48. And a lot of what we do there is support the independent agent community who just need help placing risks that maybe they don't have markets for, or it's gone across state lines or in multiple states and they've got this great relationship. They know the people, they just need help placing it. And then my original background is where I'm closely located to you guys is I'm the owner of a third generation family business called Thams Agency, which is where I got all of this geeked out work comp knowledge.
That's awesome. When you say you're close, Todd, where you're over in Iowa?
Yeah, so I'm in Iowa. I'm about an hour and 15-minute drive from Omaha, I think, where you guys are located at. Great city. Love to go there. Love the old market. Love the shopping. We're in Omaha all the time.
As we're shooting this now, it's a good time to be in Omaha. I got the College World Series here, so there's a lot of people visiting. You would not want to pay for a hotel in Omaha right now, though.
No. You better drink lots of water or other beverages because it's only 100 and 101 today, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, just stay
usually the case during this week.
Absolutely.
So, Todd, I want to make sure that we're doing justice for Mod Advisor too, and we've got a common thing with you in terms of trying to kind of change the narrative and landscape in the tech world and what we're doing. So just bring everybody up to speed on Mod Advisor, what you're doing and how you're trying to change the game in that space.
Absolutely. So the idea to found Mod Advisor was just simply because I wanted to simplify workers' compensation analysis. I didn't find anything in the marketplace that was super cutting edge or easily allowed me to explain to prospects or clients what was happening with their mod. And I certainly don't think that workers' compensation analysis needed to be as hard as it was. I mean, I know the formula and the data that goes into producing that mod is extremely complex, but your general client, I mean, unless they're a nerd like us, they have no idea. They're just looking at a number and they're wondering how it influences their premium. So with that, we started Mod Advisor. I started in 2020, launched it formally in 2021, was super excited when I think one of our first 5 or 6 clients back then was, I think they're in the top 25 brokers in the country, which was super cool.
Absolutely.
We became their sole work comp analysis provider. We saw a lot of traction after that. And most recently, we're coming off of Broker Tech Ventures of being selected into the 12 people that were involved in the cohort there, which was super cool because that put us in front of really the top 25 brokers in the country, as well as insurance carriers. And it's interesting because they share some of the same frustrations that we do with mod analysis. And there's nowhere better to get in front of the room of decision makers and people who love insurtech, who love insurance, and who are really focused on enhancing that client experience with technology. And the feedback and information that they gave me and our team was absolutely incredible. From there, we've had a couple other things that have launched out of that. And I sit here today, it's June 2022, and there's a lot of cool things that are going to be coming down the pipeline that are really not only going to help agents, but also help the clients that agents have and the prospects in terms of how we talk about workers' compensation and how we bring in our experience and our resources to really help that client lower their costs.
Yeah, and I will say, Ella Brock Norris is now utilizing the platform, and yeah, it's been fantastic. So, congratulations to you and the team at Mod Advisor for building what you
Thank
built.
you. Happy to
Yeah,
have
and
you.
congrats on getting selected for BTV too. That's,
Yeah,
like you said, awesome way to get exposure, and just not easy to get selected either. So
No, I didn't. Honestly, I didn't realize. Here's an actual funny story. They had reached out and encouraged us to apply, and I said no. and the executive director was like, "What do you mean no? Like, do you know who we are?" And I said, and it wasn't like, "Hey, do you know who we are?" in a mean way.
maybe
It was
I
like,
should back up.
really, like, no, like I'm calling you and asking you to apply. And I had it confused with another accelerator. And I mean, all accelerators are great. There's just a time commitment that we can make for some and not for others. And after we overcame that first hurdle, then I really understood the value that BTV could bring and why we would want to apply. But yeah, the first time I was like, I'm really not interested. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he persevered and pushed through because we learned a lot.
Well, so I guess on kind of the heels of that, Todd, I mean, how are you seeing Mod Advisor kind of change the advice landscape from a producer's perspective?
Well, that's a tough question. So let's understand that all producers are not created the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this has been probably, what I've said for years. The barrier to entry to become a producer is not that hard. You take a test, you get a license. And I've had lots of conversations with lots of agents all over the country. Most recently, one in California that didn't even know that there was an experience mod on a workers' compensation policy.
Huh.
And the narrative in the industry that you see from, the Geicos and Progressive is, 3 minutes to quote or 15 minutes to quote or whatever it is. And I have said for years, the last thing you need is a quote. And even in my days when I was still actively selling insurance to prospects and clients, the last prospect meeting I walked into, I said, I'm really good at quoting. I don't need practice. Like, let's talk about some of the underlying things here that's driving up your premium. And from there, we'll find out if we're a good fit. And really what you want to do is find out, is there any way they're going to leave their incumbent agent no matter what?
Yeah.
And I think when you can pivot that conversation to let's take quoting off the table, let's take price off the table, let's just have a conversation and find out what's going on and open up and find out if you're a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for you. And then we'll have this great conversation about what resources can we bring to the table and how can we change what you have today to something better in the future. That's a win-win.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's starting to change the way the client thinks about purchasing, products and risk management services. So walk us through a little bit of your ideal process, Todd, I guess, when it comes to engaging with a particular prospect or client with Mod Advisor. How are you doing that today?
From me talking to agents or agents talking to their prospects and clients?
Agents talking to prospects and their clients using your product, Mod Advisor.
Got it. So it's interesting. If we take a look at some of the mod data that we have right now, and I just did this, if you aggregate all of the mods that are below 1 to the floor, and then you aggregate all the mods from 1 to the highest, the average mod that I think we have in our system is something like 0.72, 0.78 if you're on the bottom half, and it's something like 1.37 on the high half.
Wow.
I mean, that's 50 points difference, right? So I'm a comp guy. I lead with comp. Typically, in most cases, for most businesses that are of any size, that's probably 50% of their entire commercial premium. And I think that also ties into group benefits, which we can segue into that later. So the first thing I want to do is dig in and just simply run a mod analysis. And we can do that. It's pretty low risk to the client. If I'm in the firm, it's $24, order a mod worksheet. We have them sign the NCCI letter of authority, and we just go get the data. And then I'm also going to ask, if possible, for loss runs. So maybe step one is doing the mod analysis. Step two is backing the loss run information into the mod analysis. And one of the conversations I had last fall was with a social service organization down in Missouri, and they didn't even understand their mod, what was going on. And we just did a simple analysis for them. Was not an account that we controlled. Today. They just reached out for some help. But what we discovered as part of that is the incumbent broker wasn't actively looking at the loss information and comparing that. And so what the insurance company had reported to NCCI did not match anything that was on the bureau report. And so just by solving some of that was 5 or 6 points in savings.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about, do you really need a quote? Well, do you really need a mod analysis, right? Let's validate the information first. Let's make sure people are classified appropriately. Let's make sure the number that you have is right. And then let's see what the floor is and how we can get there, because you're spending a lot of money giving it to the insurance company when you could probably, your client could use that money better in their business. The number two component of that we talk about is the different types of claims. So most businesses don't understand the difference between a medical only claim or a medical and indemnity claim. And so we have a lot of people that use our software just to do analysis on what would that look like if you had a return to work program, or what would that look like if your injured worker wasn't off work for 3 days? How would that swing your mod premium? And to your point, when we talk about getting past the premium, this is truly like great advice from a work comp professional when you're showing them just by tweaking a couple different things, how they can save vast amounts of money on their workers' compensation policy. In the case of the example that we did in Missouri, they had a $5,600 work comp claim that was medical indemnity. $500 of that was indemnity. So you guys know as well as I do, that person was probably off work for 4 or 5 days. And that one claim carried 4 points on the mod.
Wow.
So when we're talking to them, what's your return to work program like? Well, we don't have one. Okay, let's walk through why don't you have one? Well, we're transitioning people and so is too busy, and they have every excuse in the book, right? And that's where you get a great myriad of outside resources. Like you can partner with some HR firms that can help assist with this, or you can partner with brokerages like yourself that have some of those teams that help. But in this case, that $500 worth of indemnity cost them $2,400 a year in premium. And now you're talking, you're giving the insurance company $7,200. Am I doing the math right? 24. No, I'm not. You're giving the insurance company exorbitant amounts of money because people within the organization don't understand how important that return to work program is. And so I think when you're a work comp advisor and you're focused on delivering value and you can have those conversations, you're going to change the whole dynamic. And to our point, we don't need another work comp quote. We need to solve the underlying problem, which will long-term drive down the cost for that client.
Yeah.
And that's a mouthful. I'm sorry. I just get
Totally.
going.
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I think there's a lot of correlations in taking what you said about, the client, the client not understanding how a $500 claim can turn into a significantly higher issue long term. I think it's a common theme across risk management. Like we don't there's no positioning around how a small move today can have dramatic impact later on, because we're worried about how we're tamping down these 5 to 10% rate increases year after year. And we haven't been interested in solving the actual issues, I don't feel like, for a long time.
Yeah, I think what Todd, you said at the beginning, it's too easy to get into our industry, right? And when it's easy to get in, it's also easy to lose the desire to give advice or even the ability to give advice, right? And so we get into this very product driven industry, and the consumer gets very frustrated going through what you just talked about, which is if we're buying that work comp policy as a product, we get in the mindset that, well, it is what it is. You know, my mod is what it is, my premium's going to go up. You found there's a pretty easy, frankly, with the right data tool that you've built to make somebody really quickly be able to become an advisor. You know, it doesn't take much to be able to go in, utilize the software, and be able to completely flip that script from you don't have the control, you're a victim of the insurance marketplace consumer, to no, you have control. I, your advisor, can show you that. And it's not about renewing the insurance policy. It's about taking a proactive approach to managing risk, whether that's a return to work program or whatever it is, to truly control a cost reduction strategy that then allows you to do all sorts of other things. I'm really curious, and we will tie back to that whole conversation you said about the benefits piece. I totally agree on the healthcare side and the connection with work comp. There's so many things that advisory mindset allows people to engage in. So it's just interesting as I listen to it, and frankly, how simple it is when you've got somebody like you willing to build the tool and provide the tool for somebody to go from product to advisor very quickly, specifically in the work comp space.
Oh, thank you for that compliment. The reality is most, and you probably see this, most businesses have been taught to bid insurance, not broker to broker, but it's like the spray and play method. We're going to give all of our policy documents and our loss information to whatever broker has called on us for the last 12 months. The market gets bombarded, carriers get blocked. And then there's some renewal strategies where certain firms, they just block everybody. And nowhere in that process has the client really been educated on you're doing a disservice to yourself by following this bid method. And rather than do that, I'm a huge fan of let's not talk insurance until renewal. Let's have a conversation midterm and let's find out what's going on. And let's leave the whole process of bidding and quoting insurance out of it. And let's just have a conversation about your organization, what it is that you do, the type of risk you have, what you're concerned about. And from there, find out if you're a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, that's so powerful. It's what we we've coined ours, a client strategy meeting where we try to get the client out of their business, out to lunch or happy hour, golf course, whatever it is, and just start asking them questions about what life is like inside their organization and what problems are they facing on a day-to-day basis. And you'd be surprised the amount of value that conversation can have. But I think what really happens during those is the client starts to think about you differently, and it allows you to open up the door with a conversation that is not something that the client is expecting, and it could be around advice, and it makes that conversation easier because the client starts to connect the dots on, like, why are you asking me all these questions? Like, you can't help me with that, Todd. It's like, well, I can, or I might know somebody or whatnot that can allow us to put you in a better situation. But I guess on the heels of that, like, how are you coaching, producers, risk advisors in the conversation that's setting up your product, if you will? Like, how are you coaching them through walking out to a prospect and letting them get into their kitchen to see if they can help with their mod?
So we haven't had a lot of those coaching calls yet. What we have done inside of Mod Advisor is a couple different things. As a new client to Mod Advisor, you're going to get a press release that you can blast out to your market saying, hey, I'm the work comp professional in this area, and get some traction on your Facebook page that way, right? We've also put some resources in there that talk about mod audits and just generic fact checking sheets. And then we're also putting some real world, like my frustration existed before of what can I really give my client that they really understand that they're going to follow and read? And so a lot of the stuff that we're focused on inside of ModAdvisor is real world actionable content, step by step checklists. It's all branded to the agency. Um, we're hoping, not hoping, but using those resources should help change that conversation a little bit. Now, if I had to do it all over again, if we go back 20 some years and, I was a generalist when I first started, small town, small office, you have to write everything. Going back, I would have probably dug into one industry like where I'm at right now with workers' compensation, and I would go around and I would just educate. I hear from people inside of ModAdvisor, we want to dominate the market or we're going to do this. At the end of the day, I think what you really want to do is just help people. And when you help people with no strings attached, greatness comes from that. And I would go back and I would do educational seminars, webinars, and just talk about the things that we're talking about today. Like, do you know how to manage your workers' compensation policy? Do you know the difference that a return to work program makes? And I would probably build out a whole YouTube library of all this, similar to what maybe you see like a Hanley does or somebody like that. Because I think the way today, in terms of marketing, and I don't know how you guys like to be marketed to, I hate cold calls. I don't open my email. The greatest piece of information I got, which is now in my email inbox, is if I get an email that says unsubscribe, I never see it because it gets deleted. I create a rule. If it comes in with the word unsubscribe, delete. You like that?
That's awesome. That is a good trigger.
It's a good rule.
But what I would do is just create a ton of educational content and build out this massive library, because people are going to stumble upon that when they have a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably when they start to buy in and the needle moves, and the way that they bought and purchased things before hasn't worked. And now they're looking for a solution. And if you have a lot of those solutions on your website, on your Facebook page, on your YouTube channel, and you're really just talking about education for them, I think by the time they get to you, they're going to be a more willing buyer. They're going to be more vested in your process, and you're going to connect with them. And you can certainly cast a much wider footprint than, just 20 miles from your office.
Yeah, that's phenomenal advice for people. I mean, we spend a lot of time on the show, Todd, talking about how producers can, create their value prop and change the game and change the conversations and whatnot. And the advice that you just gave is very valuable.
Yeah, I think even if they just spent, take 2 hours, record one webinar a week and just say, here's how I would solve this problem if I was your company. At the end of the week, at the end of the year, you got 52 different webinars you can share, put it on LinkedIn. People will find you.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talk about going back to what I said earlier with really in the work comp space. Let's be honest. If you got a tool like ModAdvisor, it's not that hard to shift really quickly from driving product to being an advisor. Through the whole conversation you said, there's not a ton of education that's going to that. Yet so many people listen to this, so many people know the tools out there, and so many people won't actually utilize it, and it'll get pulled right back into the exact process you talked about that our industry does day in and day out. But some will. So Ryan asked a question about how you got to go through that coaching. I kind of want to take it even a little deeper. Now we've got somebody that does start to think this way, is thinking around, okay, here's a tool, I can become the expert and an advisor in work comp. I can go win business in that way, not the product sale, quote, the premium way. You mentioned earlier is then taking that even deeper. And it's a lot of what we talk about when we talk about launch, and some of the things we're doing from a software standpoint is taking that even deeper step around the broader advisory, connecting kind of all those dots inside, the business owner's minds. So you mentioned something around the connecting kind of workers' compensation, those strategies, and even taking that deeper to things like healthcare and the benefits platform. Maybe walk through what you were referencing there, or where your mind goes, because that's taken the work comp solution, and now we're starting to say, all right, that can connect to other deeper solutions. We can really ingrain ourselves as an advisor in your company.
So a while back, I did a presentation for the Iowa Association of Health Underwriters. and they brought me on to talk about work comp and how it pertains to group benefits. And my experience has been that this has kind of changed a little bit since the passage of the Affordable Care Act. But typically, if you're looking at a loss run and you have a lot of small claims, I want to look at the group health plan and I want to find out what's going on there. What percentage of employees in your organization are enrolled in the group health plan? What does that deductible look like? And what are the premiums that you're charging them? And this is probably more prevalent, I would say, in the blue collar industry, manufacturing, construction, things of that nature. And my experience has been when you look at that and you see all of these claims that are on the workers' compensation policy, you don't have high enrollment in the group health plan. You don't have a low deductible. And so people are leveraging the workers' compensation policy as their health benefit, which is at zero cost to them, rather than using the health plan. And I want to say Aflac did a study, and I can find the document. Aflac did a study of comparing high mods and poor health plans, and they layered in their accident plan. And they found out when they layered in the accident plan that the work comp claims went down something like 37, 38%. I think if my memory serves me correct.
Wow.
So, if you're an organization that's spending, I don't know, $200,000 on work comp and your mod's 30 points higher than it needs to be, could you reallocate that $60,000 toward the group health plan? And what's the paperwork and compliance burden look like, filling out all of that claim paperwork, lost time? I mean, the list goes on and on. Maybe Teladoc would be better for your organization than a high deductible and sending them to a facility. And so I think the future for the businesses that really want to be well connected, they're going to have multiple advisors. They're going to have somebody who understands benefits. They're going to have somebody that understands work comp. They're going to have somebody that understands transportation or cyber, and they're going to need to surround themselves with a team. And I think there's a lot of resources out there that agents can bring to the table, but to tie it back from work comp to health insurance, that all affects productivity. It's affecting costs. It would be much better for that business to lower their health insurance premium, because that's going to be pre-tax, than to ink a check for workers' compensation.
See, and as I listen to that conversation, I sit here and think, how many people in our industry, agents and brokers, walk in and think that way? How many people walk in and view their role as, I should be able to sit down with the business owner and start to help them solve these problems that exist, whether I'm the only advisor doing it or there's multiple that I can kind of help bring together and quarterback and ultimately drive real solutions. That's why we call it getting past the premium, because unfortunately, just not a lot of people in our industry look past that insurance product premium.
No, because we just rush to quote, right? Let me rush to quote. Got to get you a quote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if we really focus on, there's a lot of buzz right now around the unified client experience. How can we seamlessly put things together so they all work in the background? And I think we're going to probably hear a lot more about that in the next few years, certainly the next decade. And I think if we can put all those pieces together for the client, you're going to build somebody who's not only loyal, but who also has meaningful, deeper conversation and is going to be a better client for you and the insurance company. And ultimately, you'll look great because you'll be able to help them drive down their costs, keep their employees at work. I mean, employees are hard to find right now. Why are we paying it on work comp if we can pay it on benefits?
Yeah. Or salary.
Or salary, yes.
Try to solve the gas problem. Well, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. Todd, it was a phenomenal conversation. Appreciate you coming on, and look forward to seeing where you and Mod Advisor continue to go.
Well, thank you. You guys are great. Love what you're doing. Love launch. There's big things that are going to be coming out of your firm here in the next 12 months. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
Well,
so before we let you run, sorry, Andy, to get in front of you, where can people learn more about Mod Advisor? And if they want to get a hold of you, Todd?
That's what I was going to say.
Absolutely. I am, I am pretty easy to find. I'm active on Facebook, but my www.modadvisor.com. We're still doing demos. If you want to go there and get a demo, I'm going to be the one that does that for you. LinkedIn, Todd at modadvisor.com. Anywhere you look, there I am.
Sweet.
And I'm
awesome.
just here to tell you too, I'm so committed to this industry, and I kind of geek out on this. But when it comes to ModAdvisor, whether you're a user or not, and you need help, reach out. We have resources and tools. We understand that maybe not everybody is going to be a buyer today, or they're not in a place to buy. But as a broker of 20 years, all I want to do is help. And if you need something that's going to help you win business, or maybe start you on the path to be that risk advisor that we're talking about here in this, and I can be a part of that, that's what I want to do.
Well, I think that's a great way to close, because I can attest to it. We spent a lot of time working with Todd before we ultimately engaged with ModAdvisor. Really glad we did. Appreciate the nice things you said about us, but I'll flip that back. There's only a handful of folks I think that we run into and see on a regular basis that are truly trying to create what we just talked about in this podcast, which is that real advisory, consultative problem solving role in our industry. And Todd, you're certainly one of those doing that. So thanks for taking the time with us today. And it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch what ModAdvisor and everything else you've got going on continue to do.
Thanks so much, guys.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Past the Premium. We are excited to continue breaking down barriers and finding solutions together. If you would like to reach out regarding anything you heard in today's episode, find links and contact info in the description. Until next time, have a great day, and let's continue getting past the premium.